Hello everyone, this is Charlotte, and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. This is where I talk about random topics at length on long drives, hopefully if I can manage it, on the way to work. Although today you've got me running errands, so I've just picked up my food shopping. The excitement. How can you tell you're over 30? There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast, sorry my start is already kicking in, where we talk about sensitive topics. I swear a lot, and to be honest, it's just a heads up to let you know it's coming. So if you're experiencing some kind of softness there, it's probably not going to happen. Again, I do talk about sensitive topics, and I rarely stay on one topic at a time. So I do go into sort of, complete tangents about random shit. So be prepared for a lot of chopping and changing. I swear a lot. I always swear. I like swearing. I'm a teacher, so I don't get to swear enough, although I'm really feeling it, so yeah, I'm not going to give that up. The topic for today is, what can I give you? What can I give you, my peoples? Criticism. Yeah, criticism. That's horrible. I don't want to give you criticism. Why would I want to do that? No, the topic we're going to talk about is criticism. There's positive, there's negative. It's all good. There's nothing wrong with criticism. People that can't handle criticism have got some severe issues, I think. If you can't handle somebody coming up to you and saying, well, that wasn't right. But then again, wouldn't it be like, you'd have to make sure that you did it tactfully. Okay, maybe that's the main problem. So maybe people can handle criticism, they just can't handle the lack of tact associated with criticism. Yeah, I think that's maybe it. That would get up my arse, I think. If someone was like a bastard about it. I can handle criticism. I laugh at it. I mean, you go through school, you got constant criticism. Your teacher's constantly sitting there telling you off. I wasn't. I was the ideal student. But it's. I was not. I was happy to be there. But yeah, you can handle criticism. As an adult, we should be able to handle criticism. I mean, it's just feedback, isn't it? It's just someone saying, okay, have you tried this? This bit didn't quite work, can you try something else? Some people get really defensive about it. I've had a few people get defensive about any kind of criticism, even if it's just like positive feedback, Because as a teacher, you get so into the habit of giving back feedback because the kids are like, what do I do next? Or how did I go with this? Or what can I improve on this? If they're clued in there to try and actually be there. But when you get to an adult, you get a bit more defensive about it, I expect, because you're sitting there thinking, I'm an adult. I shouldn't have to take feedback, right? Which is bullshit. We should always be learning. I mean, what they told us at uni, my particular uni, was that we were constantly lifelong learners. There's no real end to learning. You're constantly picking up stuff as you go. You might do the theory side of things, but even then, you still have to get to the practical side of things to understand what is actually happening. I always prefer tacit knowledge over, abstract knowledge, because if you've been there and you've done it and you've physically lived the experience, then it's going to be more valuable than someone saying, okay, this is how you do it. So, of course, part of that is being able to take the feedback or the criticism that comes with it. And no one's immune to it. No one's perfect. Perfection's a lie or a myth. Same as normal. Normal is complete bullshit. No one's normal. There's no normal. Even if you're talking about it in a statistical way, what is your benchmark for normal? It's like if you're looking at all like a scattered plot of data, who says what the bins are for normal? There is no normal. You've got a few maybe outliers. Outliers are the ones that really stick out, and they're in the far left or far right of the scatter plot, if I can remember correctly. It's been a few years. They're not deemed normal. They're the anomalies, which I like looking for anomalies. But, there's no normal. I mean, everybody's different. We're all coming from very individualistic backgrounds and things. We've all lived maybe similar experiences, but never quite exactly the same. So there's no way we're going to have the exact same mindsets and the ways of getting things done. So you got to admit that, you're mortal. Get over it. It's like you are fallible. So just relax. It's okay to be criticized. Again, I maintain that tact with criticism is the main problem I think most people get. And then at the same time, it's like tact that people can relate to. from their perspectives. Like one person's version of tact is another person's, nasty comment or something, I expect. Some people are a lot softer. Quite possibly a lot softer than I am. Because my mum was an asshole. It was constant criticism. So my version of feedback is a bit more different from, say, like some child that's grown up in, or some person that's grown up in a softer environment where, things weren't, physically reinforced with violence. She wanted to make a point, so she made a physical point. You didn't like what I did? No, whack. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I got that feedback. I got that memo. Please don't hit me again. No, you didn't hit me again. Okay. But yeah, some people can be verbally corrected or receive verbal feedback, and it's enough for them. That's cool. I think my lessons were a bit harder because, if you've got sensory issues, being corrected physically for your mistakes is a bit heightened. So you feel a bit more, or you hear a bit more, or your cortisol levels are a bit higher because everything's exaggerated by your body. So the message hits home a bit harder and quicker, Having said that, I don't like the victim mentality. So when someone does give you criticism, you should still be able to say, hey, okay, this is one person's perspective. I can take it or leave it. I don't have to, get upset about it, get defensive about it and say, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. You could say, fuck you, I'm not going to do it because you are an individual and absolutely give a free will. But at the same time, it's like, don't get angry about it. It's ridiculous to be angry about someone saying something. These days, everybody seems to be getting outraged about anyone saying anything about anything, So someone turning around and saying, I don't like your shoes, like, I'm offended and this has got something to do with my age, sex, or gender, or color, or, it's got to be someone, pick something, it's got to be something related to that. No, it's just, I don't like your shoes. It's like, fuck you, I'm outraged. So, people can't take criticism anymore. It's getting interesting as well. I'm wondering what they draw the line as, because in America they've got a lot of freedoms being violated, especially with free speech and stuff like that, which I find fascinating, because I thought in any kind of developed country you got free speech, really. The only questionable ones are like China and Russia at the moment, because they're like, oh, we'll give you free speech, but realistically, if you do speak, we're going to, take you away. So you can try and speak out, but shit's going to happen. So you do have free speech in a way. Just be ready to deal with the consequences in that country. But if it's America's like, and I don't know the amendments. I didn't keep up with it. I know that they're big on guns and free speech and freedoms, but realistically, they don't have any freedoms because the system they're operating in is heavily flawed. Which it's hypocritical as well. One person's freedom is another person's prison, or it's ridiculous. I don't know where to go with that. I don't know how they're going to fix that. They seem to keep tacking things on, like tacking on amendments to try and fix it, but it doesn't seem to work. What they need is complete restructure, but no one's going to want to do that. But it's they can't handle criticism. They can't handle anyone, standing up to them as well. And I've watched them on the TV, and it could be just extreme examples in traffic and things like that, but anything, even in a Walmart or something like that, they lose their shit. So anyone stands up to them for anything, and they crack the shits. Any kind of feedback. If it's not absolute compliance to what they want, they will crack the shits. That's crazy. You're an adult. You should be able to take feedback. And go, okay, yes or no, I will take it, I won't take it. I'm going to keep travelling on my merry little way and whatever, man, this is my life. But they lose their shit. And I don't want to even know how many times they pull out their gun. It's crazy to sort differences, These colonies, what are they about? I don't know. It's crazy. So, as an adult, you should be responsible with your actions. You should be able to give and receive feedback, criticism. We call it criticism. Criticism is the angry word for feedback, I think. As soon as people hear criticism, they go, oh, That's mean. No, it isn't. It's just feedback. You get feedback from your lecturers, you get feedback from your parents, your friends. As soon as you get criticism, the criticism implies that it's a negative thing. It's like, there's no negative criticism. There's positive as well. All criticism is a learning experience. And you can choose to do it, or you can choose not to do it. I don't know why people get so anal about it. One guy, there's a guy here in a, no, not Navara, it's like a Land Cruiser. He is just weaving out of traffic. Sorry. If you hear a bang, that's him. He's hit someone. Because he's an idiot. Oh, and he's just shot a red. Okay. Well, I got rid of him. See? The system works. We get rid of the idiots. I wonder if he'd take my criticism. I've just had a few people, like, growing up, that can't take criticism. My dad can't take criticism. Everything is a threat. You stand up to him. But, you know, if you've listened to any other podcast in my list, it's my dad's nuts. He's a berserker. So anything that was not absolute, doing what he wanted you to do, it was a threat. Stand up to him, it's mental. My mom is the same. But then again, I knew they were both control freaks growing up. So I considered that to be the norm. You defer to your parents. But there has to be a more tactful way or a gentler way of being able to defer to your parents than just, you know, inflicting abuse till you get what you want. I mean, kids aren't human jukeboxes. We're not the Fonz. So you can't just smack them into action, you know. At some point they're going to crack. But yeah, it's weird. I would have loved to have parents that would have just given me nice feedback. It's like, well, this wasn't the right idea. So, you know, these gentle parenting we've got these days where we're breaking generational curses, where nobody gets hit and we all keep very low level voices, you know. And nobody's really losing out on anything. It's just like a nice vanilla approach to parenting. My parents were all violence and abuse. You will get the point if I had to beat the shit out of you to make you. I would love one of those people. It's like, this is very nice feedback. Thank you for this conversation. Of course, as a kid, you wouldn't appreciate it, would you? Because you'd be like, I don't want to do that. I want to do my own thing. Oh, I want to play on my PlayStation or whatever. If you had a PlayStation, I didn't. We didn't have anything like that. We were the wrong generation. I think my brother was the first person to get a PlayStation in our family, and even then he was like 20-something, and he bought it himself. My parents weren't that way inclined. Hence the reason I'm absolute shit with technology now. Probably lack of exposure. But, you know, I can admit my flaws. As a human, you need to be able to admit your flaws. You are human. You will, you know, eat shit and die someday, you know. There's no getting up your own ass about how fabulous you are. Although I will say the current generation, I'm so old saying that, right? Gen Z. Is it Gen Z? I've lost track. The kids that are younger than me, I'm 38, I'm talking about the 20-year-olds that are running around these days. It's like, there is a huge obsession with themselves. It's huge, and promoting themselves as an image. I'm saying, this has got to be mass media produced. It's got to be. They all think they're going to be TikTok stars. They're all going to be YouTubers or some fucking Viners. I don't know, man. I'm pretty old school when it comes to work. I'm like, just get a fucking job, dude. My parents drilled that into me. It's like, and I've seen it in practice, so I know that it's valid. We had kids when I was going through school. It was like, oh, I'm going to be a football star. It's like, oh, yeah. You're unsettling now, aren't you? Yeah. How's that football? Shit. Yeah, it wasn't a case of injury, it's just that they didn't want them. Or there was just so many people that were wanting to be football players that there was just no positions for them. So, you know, this was the only thing they absolutely trained for or wanted to be when they grew up. They had no backup plan, so they just, you know, fucked the rest of their life. They got some mediocre job somewhere and just bumbled off to, you know, obscurity. It's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be the same with these kids that are hoping to be the next TikToker or the next YouTuber. It's like, it's sad because they're building themselves up. I don't know if their parents are doing it as well, because we've got also a series of parents that are sitting there telling their kids they're amazing, they're fabulous, and they can't do any wrong, and that's direct result of coming from shit parents. I think that's like absolutely going the other way. Like, you have an option. My generation, we had abusive parents mainly because they were the descendants of the boomers, and the boomers did it, so they did it, and so we got it. And now we're turning around and saying, well, that was horrible, let's not pass that on. And we're actually being conscious about it. It's like, I don't want to do that. For the most part, this is hopefully the census. But we pumped them up too much, I think. I'm worried about that, because now when they get the slightest bit of criticism, they crumble. It's like, nobody's following my YouTube. It's like, oh no, who cares? It's like, don't say that, it's my life. Oh my God. And then suddenly we've seen this widespread range of kids that have got anxiety as well. I'm sitting going, are you sure? Where was this 10 years ago? It's like, we suddenly got anxiety. It's like, well, no, suddenly. Either we didn't diagnose it before, or something has happened where everything's gone tits up and kids are panicking. And they haven't really got any real responsibilities yet, because they're like, what, teens? What is your responsibility as a teen? I had to sit my TE. I was a lot of other shit going on that was a problem, but that was my one job, go to school. It's like everything else was nothing. It's like, I got anxiety. About what? It's like, I know. It sounds horrible, because it sounds really insecure, like, not, what do they call it? When you don't feel sorry, insincere. I don't feel sorry for I'm sitting there going, you listen to any other the shit I've already gone through, and I'm sitting there looking at this 18-year-old kid who's going, I didn't get into my uni I wanted, I'm losing my shit. And I'll probably just laugh. But then again, you know, perspective, because they've never faced the amount of shit that someone my age would have faced, because it's all new to them. They're still looking at it going, oh my God, this is the absolute worst thing I've ever come across. And then you get to 25 and you go, oh my God, this is the absolute worst thing I've ever come across. It's like, nope, welcome to 30. Oh fuck, another one. Yeah, it comes in waves. I'm expecting more. I'm not naive in this. I'm expecting more weird shit to happen as I age. And anyone who's older than me is listening to this going, oh, she's going to love 40 or 50, you know. Shut. Oh well, we'll face it when it comes, won't we? Don't have a choice, really. And that's the mindset you got to have when it comes to criticism. I mean, you might fail, you might win. You never know till you get there. So you prep as much as you can, but inevitably, even the SAS have got like, you know, it's like we planned, but at the same time, until you get there, you don't know. It's like, we've got an idea. We'll plan down to a dot, but at the same time, you won't know till you're in the field. Criticism is part of that. It's okay to have criticism. Someone says something, it's not the end of the world, you're going to be fine. Most of the time it's verbal criticism. If it does anything like affect your job, then you got to start thinking, okay, maybe I need to start handling some shit, or rearranging some shit, or figuring some stuff out. But if it's just a case of someone turning around and saying, I don't like your hair, fuck off, mate. I don't care what you like. This is my hair, I don't care. I'm taking it so personally, I'm outraged. Fuck off. Oh my God. Having said that, I do keep seeing like Birkenstocks and mullets around, and I am disgusted. So I haven't told them yet, but I'm thinking, well, there's an absolute cock block. But then they could equally turn around and say, why would I want to shag you anyway? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? I mean, I'm a millennial, geez. But yeah, that arrogance. You know, it's just, you got to be able to take criticism. I mean, it will help you in the end. It's all lessons. You don't have real bad experiences without learning something from them. You always get something out of it. You've got to look for the lesson in it, even if it's an absolute shit experience, like you stuck your arm in a wood chipper. What did you learn? Don't stick your arm in a wood chipper, and cyborg arms are cool. That's what you learn. It's like, I got a robot arm now. Woohoo! Yeah, people are weird. They go into this negative funk. My ex-boyfriend was the same. He goes into this weird negative funk with the slides, hit stonewalling and shit. I'm going, I can't do this, man. If you can't fix this, or at least attempt to fix this, get the fuck away from me. I can't do this victim mentality where anybody that confronts you suddenly becomes evil. It's like, no. And I'm not going into that in this podcast, because that's a whole fucking diatribe of bullshit going on with that fucker. So if you want to know about him, go and listen to any of the other fucking episodes, you know? But I wasn't raised that way to play the victim. I was raised to fix things. My mum was focused on fix things. Don't sit there whinging. Don't obsess. Don't get dragged down into any kind of weird depression. Just get on with it. Stop fucking around. It's like, oh, you got feelings? That's great. Fucking get on with it. So, performance was emphasized. Getting it fixed was maybe rewarded. Getting the job done was accepted. It wasn't celebrated though. Achievements weren't celebrated, I noticed. We didn't do birthdays, which is why I do birthdays now. Even just, anything that involves promoting ego. But then again, that was a control mechanism. My parents didn't want me to have an ego, because if you have an ego, of course, you're going to fight back, aren't you? So their main directive was to break me, or us kids, into compliance and servitude. So that's what I got out of it. That was my lesson. And it has its place. You will learn humility, absolutely. You'll very soon know your place in this world, especially when they're cracking the shit out of you. You'll find that vanity means nothing. Pride is fluid. Greed has its place. It's still negative, but it has its place, because I still had to do things like steal money and food and shit just to survive. And that was the Spartan approach my parents took to parenting. They wanted me to be self-sufficient. Well, my dad was fucking useless, but my mom wanted us to be self-sufficient. And in effect, she taught us to survive without anyone. And it has its strength. I can't, I want to look back and say, oh, it's fucking awful, it was horrible, and all this shit, and I never had what I needed, and I was malnourished, and, I had to do some very shady shit just to get along. I'm pretty sure some of it was illegal, but but you learn the lessons. You go, I can still use this skill. It's not as bad as it seems. And I'm doing very well with my resolutions of trying to save money and stuff like that, by remembering shit I did as a kid or as a young adult and things like that to survive. Because now I've got the funds, and I've already been conditioned to it through criticism. So I'm not seeing the criticism I got from her particularly as a bad thing, because it's there. It was harsh, but it's there. It's still a learning curve. I'm glad that I can relive the lessons without the beatings that hammered them home. I can relive them as an adult and go, oh, okay, that's what we do now, so we don't do that. We're gonna strategize this, and we're gonna do all this, and if we time that right, we're gonna get this done, and all this kind of thing. All these skills you pick up when you're under the hammer and under the pressure of performing in the worst conditions. You pick it up and you can handle it and use it in the easier conditions. It's fucking phenomenal. I mean, it's like when you go to the gym and you're sick as fuck. And if you're a woman, you're bleeding as well, because those fuckers time up perfectly, don't they? You're sick as a dog and you're on a period, you're like, fuck you. But I'm gonna do the weights anyway. So you're training in the hard conditions so that you can, when it's the softer conditions, just breeze through it. It's fucking amazing. And it's a semi-high when you get that done. Because you're like, well, actually, today was really easy. And then you find yourself that you're, outlifting the guys, and they're looking at you like you're an asshole. I'm like, yes, but I'm a better asshole than you. And I'm bleeding and coughing my guts up. But I don't know, maybe that's a toxic trait my mum stuck in me. That toughness that you have to have is toxic as fuck. It's not toxic, it is and it isn't. It has a purpose. It has a purpose, but you need to be able to turn it off and on. You can't just live in this toxic toughness. You've got the masculinity the guys have got right now. Or maybe they're softening up a bit. I'd be happy if they were softening up a bit. But it's where the guys have to constantly, shut off their emotions and be tough and they don't show emotion, and then they do show weakness and stuff like that. And, this it's toxic as fuck. You've got to be able to switch that on and off. There's a time and place for it. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can turn it off, it's when it becomes all-consuming and it starts affecting things. Like anything that's considered a psychological disorder, that toxic masculinity is a psychological disorder, because it can overrule your life. It can start fucking up your life. Any mental illness, like if you look at a DSM-5 or whatever it is, psych thing, you can have all these little weird disorders and it's fine, and it's not considered mental illness until it starts overruling your life and making it problematic. So I know I've got a shitload of quirks from fucking, first of all, ASD, I got a shitload of quirks from that. That's fun. But they've always been helpful. I don't mind them. I don't have any real problem with any of my quirks. Although I get a bit mouthy when people smell bad. I did that the other day. I think he heard me. I was in the gym, and I swear to God, this guy smelled like marinated taint. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Who goes to a heated fucking room smelling like that and then starts training? I'm like, you bastard. But that's me. That's because I got overactive scent stuff, like sensory stuff, plus like strict rules stuff going on, plus OCD, plus hygiene things that I'm like a bit tight on. And I just get instant rage from bad smells. And that's also trauma-based because of my mum used to rag my dad out for bad hygiene and stuff like that. So I've had that in my back of my head my entire life. So it's a clusterfuck of weird shit. So I got fucking autism and sensory issues, plus PTS, plus OCD, generalized anxiety. I can't do the social shit, dude. I scream on the inside. It hurts me to be outside. I just want to be inside. I really do. It's got to the point where it's so painful now. But I haven't become sort of like a shut away. I still recognize that I need to be out of the house to do certain things. So I sort of, suck it up and get on with it. That's where my toughness comes in, the conditioned response. But realistically, I'd rather be home, not anywhere near people. But that could be a multitude of things. Plus I had like depression for a while there when I got separated, divorced and shit, which went away, which I'm happy about because I think my SD just overrided it. Because it turns around and is like, are we depressed? It's like, I don't know. Are we depressed? Fuck it, okay, I don't know. Eventually it just goes away. So I feel sorry for anyone who actually recognizes their emotions as strongly as depression. I recognized at the time that the circumstances were causing it because I'm like, well, this is just circumstances out of the ordinary. Of course I'm going to feel like shit. And it would take a long time to get over, what was the sacrifice of my future that I planned and this man I loved and, all this horrible shit and all the sacrifice of myself I'd given into the relationship and the life and the future and all this shit I built and losing everything and then piled on with being homeless and in debt and, all this extra shit that happened at the time. And I was just, I know why I'm depressed. I have a strong feeling and understanding of why I'm depressed at the time. But it does go away. And I'm glad I'm grateful. I'm not the kind of person that sits in depression. I don't know if that's a conditioned response as well, because my mum didn't like us feeling things. So she would hit us when we did. Favorite saying, I don't know if you guys have had it when you were growing up, stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Except she actually did give us something to cry about afterwards as soon as you start crying. She'd kick the shit out of you for crying. And that was the girls. Don't you fucking cry. It's taking big girls don't cry to an extreme. Mental case. Anyway, but criticism, not always bad. I mean, in the softer circumstances like teaching, yeah, if you can handle it, you're going to learn something, aren't you? I criticize kids all the time. I do it in a very sarcastic, funny way, because that's their sense of humor, and they laugh their ass off because I'm a weird teacher and I love being it. So they're my kids. I love my kids. I'm not going to rip into them like my parents did to me. I'll make jokes about it. I'll go, you chicken nugget. What was that? Crazy pants. I was calling everyone a hermit. Crazy crab the other day. My kids are awesome. I love my kids. I can't criticize them thoroughly. But you sit there and you make a joke about it. And you find a way to tactfully present the problem without losing your shit. And that half my fight is trying to, deal with PTS in the gym. So when I do come to the crunch into the classroom, that the underlying shit that I've gone through as a kid and as 20s and all that, if you I don't know I can't even imagine what podcast I put it in. It might be the gym one, I don't know, but it talks about all my PTS. Yeah, go to that one. But it also all that shit that I've accumulated over the years, whether I wanted to or not, I don't want to take it out on my kids. I sure as fuck don't. Not only will it be cruel to them, I'd fuck up my life, my job, I'd lose everything just from not being able to control my shit. And I know it's there, and I know it's still there, but I use it strategically. I mean, it's that constant criticism. From my parents, I can hear it in my head when I'm teaching as well. I can hear my mum in the back of my head. But at the same time, I'm sitting there going, okay, how can I translate this into a non-fucking toxic way of doing this? You can feel yourself getting riled up as well. You go, oh fuck, that temper's coming up. Okay, how can I fix this? So I chew gum like all the time. That is ASD plus PTS. I've got oral fixation. So you'll see me go through packets of gum. I had chew toys at one point just to test them out. I had like little ASD chew toys that were around your neck just to see what that would do. And I didn't want to develop that rash, so I went back to gum. Plus my jaw looks amazing, my jawline. So vain. No, I got very square jaw, look like fucking German. But you know, you don't want to take your shit out on other people. So if you're gonna need to criticize someone or give them feedback, try and find a soft, tactful way of doing it. They're more inclined to listen in that way. Although, you know, there are some people that are not gonna listen whether you want them to or not. They're just assholes. Or they're so stuck in their ways and so stubborn that you could list them, like my ex-boyfriend. You could give list after list of issues you've had and why they're issues and why you need to fix them and how you can fix them. And then they'll look at you and go, oh, that's a nice list, and then keep doing what they're doing. So there's always assholes like that. When it comes to that point, you can give them advice. If they don't take it, I'd put a limit on it. I'd say give them advice 3 times. If they don't take it, and leave. Don't bother trying to, you know, drill home the point, even whether you're right or wrong. It's like, clearly they don't want to know. Don't waste your time. And I tried so many times with my ex-boyfriend to try and help him to get his shit together, mainly to get the relationship going, to get anything going with his life. And it was so stuck in his ways. And it's just like, you know what, old dog, new tricks. Fuck this one, I'm off. But that's not the case with everyone. I won't say that's the case with him, because there was another guy I didn't have to give feedback to. I just sat and watched him, and he was changing his own life, and I'm sitting there going, so it's possible. And this guy was like 34, I think. I lose track of time, dates. But it's only a difference of a few years. It's the mindset. Some people are willing to change, some people are not willing to change. So even if you got criticism or feedback for this person, you've got to be willing to accept what stage they are in their reality. Some people are just never going to change. Some people just like sitting in their own shit. They don't think they should have to change. They think everyone should move around them. That's what we call Karens. So fuck them off. Although it's a bit reverse psychology, really, because Karens are trying to do the same thing to everyone else. They're saying, why aren't you changing my mindset? But they're doing it forcefully and without tact. So I guess there is a difference somewhat. I might have to Google that a bit more. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys, because it is my Saturday. I'm hoping you guys are having a fabulous Saturday. I'm about to go and export and upload this onto YouTube. I've just dropped off a load of stuff at the shops. I picked up a load more, so I'm just going to chill. I've eaten my pancakes. I'm going to go eat some other stuff. It's Saturday. I love food. I'm going to get back into my fluffy jumpers because it is winter. And that's it, just a fluffy jumper. So, so sexy. Have a great one, guys. I hope you have a fantastic holiday. Oh my God, there's wishful thinking. A fantastic weekend. Take it easy, okay? And I'll see you guys later.